Do you truly honor your needs and desires, or do you put them off until a later date? In this episode, we discuss delayed enjoyment. Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, Season 4, where we are focusing on mastery. The last 3 seasons, I gave you the information. Now, we're focusing on integrating it into our lives and embodying it. If you are ready to master your thoughts, emotions, and patterns to feel whole, fulfilled, and really grounded in who you are without dimming your shine so you can live the abundant life that you truly desire, then you are in the right place. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? Okay, wherever you are listening from, I want you to take a moment and answer these 3 questions for yourself. Number 1, when was the last time you took a vacation? Think about it. When was the last time you took a vacation? Question number 2, when was the last time you wore your nicest outfit or jewelry? So that'll vary from person to person what your nicest outfit is, but think about it. When was the last time you put on something really nice or sexy or sharp and went out? Number 3, when was the last time you used your fancy china? Now, if you don't have fancy china, why don't you have fancy china? So I want you to take a moment and really answer those questions for yourself. And this is so important. I came to a realization that as fabulous as my life is, I delay my own enjoyment. Now, obviously, I'm a very passionate person and I have a business that I love and I'm just so passionate about everything that I do. But I had these aha moments come to me, and 3 of them, and I'm going to share the 3 examples. But once I hit the 3rd one, I was like, okay, I need to make a shift. And I'm also going to talk about it on the podcast because I feel like everyone else needs to have awareness around it as well, because joy and excitement sits in our sacral chakra, which is also our life force and our source for creativity and passion and pleasure. And these are things that make life worth living. So if we're not actually doing the things that excite us and make life worth living, then life can become very monotonous and bland and dry and dark. And abundance is the complete opposite of that. So when I had this aha moment, I said I have to do a podcast episode on this. So what exactly is delayed enjoyment? I know that everyone's heard the term delayed gratification, which refers to the ability to put off something mildly fun or pleasurable now in order to gain something that is more fun, pleasurable, or rewarding later. Now, I know everyone has heard that term before, and I think we live in a society that programs us for delayed gratification. Like, work hard now, play hard later, work hard, play hard. But it's like, do this now and then you'll be rewarded later. Work hard for this period of time and then you'll retire and be able to live, a certain way. But I think that it really sets us up for failure and burnout. And this is the realization that I had for myself. And so rather than saying delayed gratification, what I call this is delayed enjoyment. And my definition for it is when you keep putting off your needs, your desires, and your enjoyment for later. Now, we are programmed as a society to be this way. And then a lot of times people die with regrets. They die wishing they would have took the vacation, wore the nice outfit, told the person they loved them, took that leap and started a business and did all the things. So I found it so important to talk about this topic so we are not missing out on living this human experience to the fullest. So the root cause of this is programming that usually starts from a young age. So the term save the best for last. Now, I am definitely someone who I've done this. I'm going to give you my 3 examples of how this showed up in my life that made me realize that I do this. But save the best for last, I feel like we hear that term so much that it's ingrained in our being to think that way. and then save this for a special occasion. So I asked about the fancy china. So do you have, certain plates or glasses or like fancy wine glasses or just fancy china that is sitting in your cabinet and not really being used, and you only bring it out for special occasions. And usually when we have stuff like that, it starts to collect dust. So I'll give you my 3 examples of how I realized that I do this. So when I go to a restaurant, and I love a good steak. I've been weaning myself off of red meat, but every now and then I do love a good steak. Sorry to my vegan friends and listeners. But every now and then I do love a good steak. So what I'll do is, as I'm cutting the steak, there's always like a part of the steak that is just the juiciest, and it's like that best piece. And like, I'm someone who, I don't really care for chard. So like, if something's like a little charred on the outside, I usually cut around it and save that like middle juicy piece for last. Now, because I don't eat a lot, I save that little juicy piece for last, but then I wind up taking it home because I was saving it for last, but then I got full, and then I wind up taking it home. And even if I heat it up in however you want to heat it up, it's not the same the next day. Right? It's not the same the next day. And sometimes I'll be going. The next day I forget that I have leftovers, and then it's completely wasted. So the best part of the steak, I wasted it because I was saving it for last. And so this is the first time that I realized that I did this. And I was like, oh no. Like, from now on, when I go to a restaurant and I am having a nice steak, I'm eating the best part first. Like, I'm going for the middle piece. I'm going to cut it right down the middle and go for the middle piece because it's the best part. And I've wasted so many moments of enjoying that best part because I was saving the best for last. So that was the first time that I realized that I delay my own enjoyment, and I'm not experiencing the best possible situation. I'm doing it to myself. No one's doing it to me, and I think this started as a child. So my mom would make me eat my vegetables, but I knew if I like ate everything else, I wouldn't, and got full, I wouldn't want to eat the vegetables. So I got in a habit of eating the vegetables first, but then it just carried over into adulthood of just like, eat the parts that you don't really want first, and then save the best for last, but then I get full. So it's redoing, and this is a silly example, but it's bigger than the actual example. It's how we've conditioned ourselves to be, and having awareness around it so we can shift it so we can enjoy life to the fullest. And that goes across the board, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in business, whether it's in fun and pleasure and leisure. It's redoing the programming and the patterns that we've adapted that are capping our enjoyment. So that was the first example that came into my awareness around me delaying my enjoyment. So the second one, this actually happened recently. So I love truffle oil. I'm a huge truffle fan. So one of my best friends brought me back some truffle oil from Italy, and I put it in my cabinet because I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna save this for like a really great dinner because it's like truffle oil like straight from Italy and not, just from the regular grocery store here in the States. So I put it in my cabinet and I would always see it, and I remember my ex wanting to use it one day, and I'm like, no, that's from Italy. Like, we can't just use that for like a regular dinner. Tell me why the truffle oil expired. Okay, I was just like, now don't get me wrong, I still used it, even though it expired, and I'm unapologetic about it because it's truffle oil from Italy. But it just really made me realize how I put things aside and I'm saving them for like a special occasion, but then it winds up expiring. And I've done this before with like perfume and makeup and stuff like that. It does have a shelf life. So I'll put aside my good perfume, but the shelf life, it does have an expiration date. The shelf life is over, and now I haven't used my best perfume, and it's wasted. And so I realized with the expiration date of the truffle oil, like how many times I've done this and completely wasted something that I was valuing. It makes no sense, but it just goes to show how much programming we have that's actually capping our excitement and pleasure and joy and bliss. Then, example number 3. This one hit me hard. So I have my sound healing certification that I've been teaching, and traveling, teaching a decent amount of people. I've made a good chunk of money every certification that I've taught thus far. And I didn't put any money aside for myself. I've been funneling it back into my business because I'm investing in the expansion of my company. So I had a moment where I wanted something, but because I had already invested all of the money from my previous trainings, I couldn't get this thing that I wanted. And my inner child literally threw a temper tantrum. Literally threw a temper tantrum. And it was all internal, but I'm so self-aware of like my feelings and emotions. I know when I'm like having a moment internally. I typically don't have moments externally. They're typically internally these days. So I felt my inner child just kind of in that rage. And I'm just like, I work way too damn hard to not be able to buy myself something nice. And a while back, I read a book, Profit First, and he talks about paying yourself first. And as entrepreneurs, this is so important. It's hard to do. It is so hard to do. I mean, it's probably one of the hardest things in being a small business owner, but you want to pay yourself first. One, because if you don't, you're going to be paying bills and investing back in a business and this and this and this. At the end, there's nothing left for you. And that is the fastest way to burn out. So taking something for yourself off the top and then paying the bills after. And I know that it sounds backwards, but it's crucial. And maybe if you want to understand more about this concept, definitely read the book Profit First, because I'm sure he explains it better as to why you want to do this. But you want to put aside money for yourself first off the top, because there's always going to be bills. There's always going to be something you can invest in your business. In some way you can put the money back into your business. And if you don't take money for yourself off the top and you're not filling your own cup, one of my favorite quotes, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of you first. So this is a moment where I was like, oh shit. Like, let me practice what I preach. I'm always saying you have to take care of you first, but I've always looked at it from a self-care perspective and not from a financial perspective. Woo, I just got chills. So here is like a moment of expansion for me in my entrepreneur journey. And I started my first business at 19. So it took me, I'm not going to tell you how old I am if you don't already know, but it took me this long to have this aha moment. To realize that you can't pour from an empty cup, and taking care of you first isn't just for self-care, but also for finances. And this is for responsible entrepreneurs and business owners. I'm not saying go, spend your paycheck recklessly to where you don't have anything left over. But if you are an entrepreneur and you're working your ass off, as I work my ass off, and within means, because I focus on my self-care, but I work so hard and I'm doing really, really big things and taking on big goals. So celebrating when I've had 4 or 5 trainings in the last couple of months, like big trainings where I had to like travel and teach a group of people, yes, I need to put money aside for myself to buy myself something nice and not something pertaining to my business. Because I know I'm like, ooh, I'll get myself a new singing bowl, but it's like, that's still investing in the business. It's not investing in me as a person feeling good. It's me feeling good about my business. So after I had this moment, I was like, it's very clear to me that I delay my own enjoyment. And it's very clear to me now about this how this can lead to burnout as a business owner. So it's important that we take time for ourselves, and not even just, because I think that like I go on vacation, I go to the spa, like that kind of thing, but it's like really just doing something nice for yourself. And even when I go on vacation, I still like film content and all this kind of stuff. Like I'm still kind of documenting everything that I do for my business, essentially, because that's how we market and advertise these days. So it's still work related. So doing something nice for yourself that's absolutely nothing to do with your business. Now, don't get me wrong. I've already put aside, a situation to get myself the thing that I wanted, and I'll tell you about it when it happens. But I'm going to film content about it. But it's just like, let's just be real here. I'm going to film content about it, but I just really let this sink in for me, and I really hope that hearing me talk about this will help you reflect on where you're delaying enjoyment in your own life. And I really think that it's important that we not do that, because, we signed up for this human experience, and so we should experience as much as we can, and we should enjoy as much as we can. And just think about like let's take my Louboutins, for example. If you know me, I love some Louboutins. And typically, like my first few pair, I would save them for a special occasion. And then years later, they're basically collecting dust. Now, one, they are kind of uncomfortable, so it's not an everyday kind of shoe. However, I started, like the ones that I purchase now, I started purchasing ones with a lower heel so I can wear them more often, because when you spend that much on a shoe, you don't want them just collecting dust in your closet. Like, what is the purpose? Just to say you have them? No, it's to wear them and enjoy them and feel fabulous and glamorous in them, not to have them sitting in your closet, okay? So when I realized that whatever I was saving for last, like I was saving the best for last, it wasn't good anymore. It expired, or it basically went to waste or collected dust because I was putting it off too long. So now I am going to start eating the best parts of the steak first, using my best perfume, wearing my favorite shoes, because that is why we buy the things. That's why we invest in the things, because we want to enjoy them. So this actually reminds me of the Mexican fisherman story. So this is a podcast I did a long time ago. You guys, I've been podcasting for some time now. I'm like, where has the time gone? But it's a long time ago that I did the fisherman story. So what I'm going to do is put the link in the show notes. So if you want to hear the Mexican fisherman story, it's a really, really powerful story. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can check that out. Okay, so I shared with you my 3 examples of how delayed enjoyment is showing up in my life, but I want you to know this runs deep. It's not just about steak, truffle oil, or buying yourself something nice as an entrepreneur. So parents put off their dreams until their kids are out of the house. Entrepreneurs put off their desires for connection and love until their business hits a certain point. And then people in general delay their happiness until they reach a certain level or financial status. So this runs deep. So I want you to sit with some questions. So these are great questions to journal on. Ask yourself, 1, am I putting off my enjoyment, needs, or desires until a later date? And be really honest with yourself. So no self-judgment, just be really honest with yourself about that. Second question is, do I cap my excitement because I'm afraid of the other shoe dropping? So a lot of people will cap how excited they allow themselves to get, how much joy they allow themselves to feel, because they're afraid of the other shoe dropping. And 3, was I programmed to believe I shouldn't get too excited or I'll jinx it? So this is another programming. We're programmed to believe that if you get too excited, you'll jinx it, or if you share about it, something will go wrong. It's negative programming, because what's for you is for you, and no one can take it away. And there is a certain level. This is actually really funny. I just went on a little mini vacation, by the way, and I went to a sound bath in LA, and they had you pull an oracle card at the end, and my oracle card said detachment. So when I said that, it popped up into my mind. But detachment is a huge, huge, huge lesson, I think, for a lot of people in the world. Just, we're attached to so many things, and we're attached to a lot of material things that we attach to our self-worth. So detachment. So just knowing that what's for you is going to be for you, and no one can take it from you. And if it was taken from you, it wasn't meant for you to have it for that period of time, and we have to trust the process and trust the journey, and know that the universe is going to provide everything that we need to step into the greatest version of ourselves, period. So ask yourself those 3 questions. Number 1, am I putting off my enjoyment, needs, or desires until a later date? Number 2, do I cap my excitement because I'm afraid of the other shoe dropping? Number 3, was I programmed to believe I shouldn't get too excited or I'll jinx it? This is powerful, because once you have awareness around it, you can start to shift your habits and patterns, just like I have awareness around these 3 things in my life, and I'm going to start to shift them so I can allow more enjoyment in. I can enjoy the moment instead of saving the best for last and then never enjoying it, or enjoying it less because now it's old or expired. Yes, I used some expired truffle oil, but you know what? It was still freaking delicious. And I mean, it's oil, not a big deal. I'm still alive. Hashtag no shame. Anyways, M&Ms, stop delaying your happiness and enjoyment. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone. We signed up for this human experience, so let's make the best of it. Wear the nice shoes, bust out the fancy china, and if you don't have fancy china, go get you some. Go get you some fancy plates and some fancy glasses that just make you feel good, I remember my first couple of apartments as an adult, I had bits and pieces of different plate set and glassware that my mom would give me, and it's 1 random plate and 2 random matching things, and I reached a certain point where I was just you know what? I want to make sure that I have nice kitchenware, because I work hard and I want to come home to nice things, and when I spend time cooking dinner, I want to eat on a beautiful plate. It just makes life more enjoyable, and we need to expand to allow more enjoyment in. And I remember listening to Joe Dispenza, and he was saying how he thought he reached this maximum level of bliss and joy, and then he expanded and there was another level of bliss and joy, and then he expanded and there was another level. So that's where we're at. So there's definitely no shame in this, don't feel any shame if you're damn, I haven't taken a vacation, I haven't worn a nice outfit or used my nice perfume or cologne. There's no shame in it. It's having awareness around it now so you can expand to let even more in. Because I live a fabulous, glamorous life, but I realize there's room for more, and I am here for it. I am here for it. How can I turn up the notch on my fabulousness, my glamorousness, my silliness as well? But seriously, and here's the thing. I know that people are afraid to allow themselves to get too high on life because they're afraid of the other shoe dropping, but you're robbing yourself of so much passion and pleasure and yumminess. It's like the saying, I would have rather loved and lost than to never have loved at all. So I would rather enjoy life to the fullest than leave this time, space, and reality with regrets. So wear your most expensive perfume and cologne, take the vacation, fall in love, allow yourself to enjoy. Joy is the highest vibration, and bliss is our natural state. So don't rob yourself of joy and bliss. All right, M&Ms, that is my message for you. If you know someone that needs to hear this, please share this podcast episode with them, because I want to see as many people thriving and blissful as possible. And we have to support each other in that vision. We have to celebrate each other. And that's the thing. Like, I have a friend that I'm like, ooh, yeah, let's go out and let's wear our Louboutins. Like, let's do it, you know? And it's like me living my most fabulous and glamorous life definitely inspires others too. So I'm in a space of expansion, seeing where I can stop delaying some of my enjoyment, and I hope that it inspires others to do the same, because life is meant to be enjoyed. So we have to allow ourselves to enjoy it. All right, M&Ms, until next time, be decadent. Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.